How do you respond when your entire world just changed? I'm serious. Think about it for a moment. Weeks ago, you weren't even thinking about social distancing or practicing isolation. Now, how do we network? How do we grow our business? How do we stay connected? Furthermore, how can we be of service during this time? Join our host, Tony Grebmeier, and today's guests as they share their best practices and insights to help you navigate the waters ahead. Welcome to Networking Remote.
Welcome to Networking Remote 2020. My name is Tony Grebmeier. I'll be your host today. I got an amazing panel lined up for everyone. What a interesting time right now. And you know what we're going through, social distancing, safe at home, businesses, shelter in place, social distancing. It's all unique and it's all different for every individual. What I've done today is try to bring a unique panel of guests from people from Canada. My friend Darren Virassammy from the Sacramento area in California, and then a local friend, Michelle Barnes. She's going to be jumping on in just a second to kind of talk about what's going on, how your personal networks are looking, what things you can be doing in your own networks to stay connected, and personally, how are you individually doing? So I'm excited for this show. I'm looking forward to it. It was interesting. Just a month or so ago, I was planning for what was going to be the biggest event of our company's history. It's traffic and conversion. We look forward to it every year. It had grown dramatically over the past couple of years. They were expecting well over 10,000 people to be in San Diego. We planned to do our annual networking dinner there. All of that got put on hold to later in the year. So then you ask yourselves, what do you do? What do you do when everything that you were working towards stops? So I wanted to first welcome Dov, the Dragonist Baron, to the show. He is a dear friend. He was going to actually be the second day opening keynote at my e-comm and influence, a dear friend, a mentor, somebody who I highly respect, dovbaron.com. And then up next is Darren Virassammy from 34strong.com, who I happened to meet being connected to Dov. And that's what I love about networking is you meet amazing individuals. And the interesting part even about Darren is somebody recommended him to me locally. Stu Schaefer said, hey, you got to get connected to this guy. And then you find out that everybody's interconnected and they know each other and play off of each other. And you know what? That's what I love about networking is you never know what's going to happen when you say yes to the opportunity. So in a few seconds, Michelle will be with us. But first and foremost, welcome, you two.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Tom. Good to be here, mate. Excited.
So this is an interesting time. So I wanted to do a quick 30-second pulse check. Darren, I'll let you go first. How are you feeling? And what have you kind of initially noticed with, shelter in place? And how's it been for you?
So on a personal level, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling strong. And it's been a time to really dig a lot deeper into myself, into relationships, into connections, different things like that. I think it's a powerful time to really be focusing on the core things that really matter. If we think about winter, right? Winter is when the roots are made for our trees and for our plants and for different things like that. And it's been a time to really go deep into the roots. So when we get to the other side of this, we can all grow. I've noticed in our community, just here, just on my street, neighbors are connecting a lot more, talking, not like out, like actually having dinner parties and different things like that, but actually pausing to speak to each other for longer periods of time, just across the street. I've met new people in our neighborhood, and just having conversations across the street with each other more and more as the kids are outside playing. I think that in and of itself has been one of the cool benefits of this, even in the sea of uncertainty and the times that we are living in.
Interesting point you bring up, talking about neighbors saying hi. I live in a neighborhood where a good percentage of the people just come home, open their garage, drive in, close their garage, and go in the house, right? Mm-hmm. And now you start looking out. Today I'm looking out. I'm in my dining room, makeshift office, and garages are open. People are doing things that normally they wouldn't be. And And I totally relate to the connection piece. So I really thank you for sharing that. And we're going to come back. Dov, so the same question to you and then follow up with Michelle. First, how are you doing as a human, right? And then what are you seeing and noticing initially with this?
As a human, I'm doing pretty good. I'm doing really great. I'm supporting lots of people, which I love to do. And I'm feeling pretty damn solid in myself, which is great. Just one of the things I'm noticing is it's fascinating because I put up several posts on this. We are in a time of great uncertainty, and the paradox of uncertainty is that we crave uncertainty because it's exciting. When things become mundane, we want the new, we want the exciting, and so then when it shows up, we call it crisis.
So true,
right? So one of the things I'm saying about this to a lot of people is that this is a forced pause. This is the pause button has been hit. And one of the things in my work, as you know, Tone, is about bringing people back to what is their dragon fire, bringing people back to what really matters most. And this has been an opportunity. Lots of people I talk to are saying, I realize that maybe I'm been on the wrong track. One of my clients is an executive who lives in the city, works in the city, but every weekend leaves the city because he's actually an outdoors guy. He goes out to hunt and to hike and do all those kinds of things. He goes, I've been battling with this idea, but I realize I can now leave the city. I've got it. I can move away. So he's kind of come to that thing of he can run his business, he can be operating his business, he can still be an executive, but he doesn't actually have to be in the office more than 1 or 2 days a week. So I'm loving that about people. And I'm reminding people of two things. One, when you walk down the street, just because we're doing this distancing, don't forget to smile and be human, because a lot of people looking at each other as threats, and that's part of the media thing. And the other thing is do business, continue to do business in whatever way, shape, or form, because that allows greater levels of certainty. It allows us all to feel better, and it allows people to not get overwhelmed. So that's kind of where I'm at.
I love it. And I think, coming into a good friend of mine, local friend and mentor, Michelle Barnes, nothing makes anything better, right, than a sale. Like if you run a business, you're getting a sale, and the sale doesn't have to be a huge transaction. It can be, for me, a sale is sometimes just getting somebody to get on the phone that I've been trying really, really hard to network with.
Mm-hmm.
And sales change everything, right? Like when you get a little bit of traction, a little bit of momentum, things definitely change. So thank you, Dov. I'm excited for today's conversation. I can already tell where we're headed and how we're going to get there. But so Michelle was introduced through a lot of amazing people in my life. And it was funny how neighbors started just sharing about this person. They said, you need to connect with Michelle. She's dynamic. And for a period of time, we all met and worked together in network marketing. And what I really learned about Michelle is her leadership skill and her desire to really help people to grow as an individual. And so when I was thinking about what kind of panel I wanted to have today, I said, I want a strong panel. I want a courageous panel, a panel that's going to be fearless, but also open and share their wounds of some of the things that they're truly going through, because that's really where the audience is going to have a true connection. So if you're watching this and you feel like you want to ask questions today, go ahead and comment on whatever platform you're watching. They'll appear here and we'll push them out to the audience and also to our guests. But first and foremost, Michelle Barnes, please welcome to the show, a dynamic individual who has definitely had a big impact in my life. So first and foremost, question to you is, how are you? And then what are you kind of seeing in your networks of networks?
Oh, gosh, Tony. Well, thank you for having me, and sorry for the tech challenges. That's like not my area. So I appreciate you guys bearing with me there while I restarted my computer. But I'm excited to be here, and it's so nice to get a chance to meet Dov and Darren, and I can't wait to get to know you guys more. And what a blessing, And how am I doing? Well, I guess it depends on the minute. To be real, business-wise, nothing has really changed, except for that I'm probably 10 times busier. I didn't know that was possible. So that is definitely a positive problem. I've already been building 100% online for the last 4.5, almost 5 years. So that really hasn't changed too much. If anything, I'm able to impact way more people right now, which excites the heck out of me. Now, adding the homeschooling piece as a single mom with 2 boys, my boys are 9 and 11. And so adding the homeschooling piece, I can definitely say from the bottom of my heart that my calling is not to be an elementary school teacher. I love teaching humans. I love teaching adults. I love teaching leadership and social media and mindset and goal setting and all those things and how to make money. But I have definitely come to the conclusion that I was not put on this planet to be a 2nd or a 5th grade teacher. So
I think that's important to know. Like, everybody has a calling, and I don't think I could teach. That's like that level of dedication. Plus the problems they're trying to solve today. I'm so past that.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I'm learning about the Civil War for the first time, World War I for the first time. I don't know how I missed that, I mean, 5th grade the first time around, but it's kind of interesting now. That part I actually am kind of enjoying. I'm like, wow, I wish I would have paid more attention. So we've all had our share of meltdowns, honestly, Tony, and myself included. But we're getting through it, and it's like I said, it's just more the juggle of, being a mom and a chef and a homeschool teacher and I became a hairstylist and a nail person, and I've had to become my own gym, instructor. I mean, it's a lot of hats right now.
No, I appreciate that. And, I think for the 3 of us, or 4 with myself included, is that we're adaptable creatures.
Yeah.
We're not sitting saying, poor me. I remember at Sean Stevenson's funeral when he passed. It wasn't like it was this happened to him for a specific reason, and so much of us as individuals, we look around and we can either go to the pity party or we can find an opportunity to rise up. And why I wanted to have you here is because I think all of you have a unique gift in networking, and that's going to be impactful for the audience today. And so one of the questions, Dov, we'll go to you, Darren, and then Michelle. The impact of in-person and via video connections for you. What's the biggest maybe difference psychologically for you, and what's the thing that you've also noticed with just doing a lot of your connections on video?
It's a good question. So it's interesting because I probably have a different point of view than most people. I do, on average, about 8 to 10 meetings a week that are via Zoom. Have done for as long as I can remember. Prior to Zoom, it was Skype. So I've always done that because, as you know, I have my 2 podcasts, and those are video podcasts as well. So aside from those introductory conversations, I'm also having full in-depth conversations for the podcast as well. I don't think anything beats in person. That's just me because I'm tactile. I'm kinesthetic. I like to hug somebody. And Tony, after you and I met via the podcast, when you were a guest on my show, you were in Vegas, so I flew to Vegas and hung out with you and another friend, so I could actually give you guys a hug and say hello. So those are, for me, that personal connection is always the highest possible thing to do. But the thing about it is, and I've not done phone calls for years for this reason, I think it's incredibly important to have the eye contact with another individual. And so that's what I like about Zoom and about these kinds of platforms, is that I can see that you're not paying attention. I can see that you're distracted. I can see that you're paying attention, that it matters. And that is, you can't multitask and be fully present. It's just not possible. So the thing about Zoom is there's way less distractions. You're actually looking at that person. And so it's a really great way to monitor yourself, not the other person, but monitor yourself. Am I actually being present with the people I'm speaking to, or the person I'm speaking to right now? And so that's one of the things I really love about this, and I have always loved about this. And I encourage people to do this. And here's the thing, I want to give everybody a quick clue. In the context of networking, people are more available now than they were before this. So there are people you can reach out to who previously would have gone, I'm just too damn busy.
But
we'll have a Zoom call with you.
one of the questions, though, you say, I still find sometimes my phone rings and I'm like, crap, I got 3 other things to do. How do I not be a jerk and send the person to voicemail or send them a text like, I'll call you later? Because I can only send I'll call you later to so many people.
Mm-hmm.
So what are you seeing when people are calling? But your calendar, Michelle just talked about it. She's like, I feel like I'm 10 times busier. I'm doing all these excess things. What are you doing to try to keep that level of communication really, really clear?
Well, for me, as you know, Tone, my calendar is very tight all the time. So if it's not in my calendar, it just doesn't get done. And that's all there is to it. So for me, it's very simple. If I'm getting a call from somebody, my friends like yourself and like Darren will text me and I will respond at the end of that day, and I can't respond before that. So I understand I still have a busy schedule. That's not changed. In fact, my wife says constantly right now, I'm seeing less of you since COVID than I did before. So I'm just like, if it's not in my calendar, it's not getting done unless I've got an open block. And then I respond to that person and say, I can talk to you at 3 or whatever it is.
Gotcha. All right, Darren, what are you seeing?
So I want to address this from just 2 different lenses, because just picking up on what Dov just said about just with Ren, with his wife Ren, with the connection, sometimes seeing less. Right now, because there's such a pull towards Zoom, towards connecting with people,
Getting done unless I've got an open block.
some of those that are right in our close circle, like my family, my wife, I have 2 kids, I have a 4-year-old, and I have a 7-year-old. There's times where the days are just so intense on the meetings of what's going on. If I'm actually not intentional about connecting with them, then those relationships can actually start to go sideways. And those are actually at the core of what I'm doing. My kids will just see me. Sometimes I'll step out of my home office and they'll see me for a second and think, oh, cool, we can go outside and we can play, or we could do something, or I can jump in and help with homeschooling. I'm just grabbing a glass of water because I've got to jump into my next meeting. So there's the need on the connecting side to make sure that those that are closest to us aren't the ones that are paying the tax for our connecting as well. I've tried to be intentional about that piece of the puzzle, like just getting set up in here today. You can tell I'm walking right now. I tend to like to do interviews standing. I think best on my feet. So most shows I do, that's what I do. I've actually asked the question of myself when I was getting frustrated when this was all first coming out. We've all gone through this. How can my kids help me with my work and become a part of it? They know every day if I have shows when they get up in the morning, different interviews I'll be on, they come in and ask me, good morning, Dad, how are you? We hang. Hey, are you doing any shows today? Can we help you set up? So they get the desk up to the point, they check the lights, we get the cameras going, they test the mics. They're part of that. They also made a sign for the door. They made the sign. I didn't make the sign. They made the sign. So when that door is closed, it's their warning to themselves, hey, don't come in. That's actually moved us away from having them just blow into the middle of interviews or different things like that, or if I'm facilitating a training. So that's one piece of the puzzle. I think Dov talked incredibly well about what's going on with connecting with others. The piece about connecting with others that's so incredible and important. I've been really enjoying the process of going through Zoom, connecting with people, just having those chats, or folks that I might just make a call to. Tony, you and I have been just doing more when we are calling, checking in, even if we get a minute, 2 minutes, just quick FaceTime. I've been finding I'm more apt to FaceTime somebody than I normally would. And to Dov's point, there's a lot of folks within the network that are they're grounded where they're at. So their availability to be able to talk, to have that chat, that impromptu chat might take place later in the day, but that time is still there. So
I love that. The thing that I'm worried about, this is what I'm worried about, is like the beaches. I think it was in Jacksonville that got opened up, and mass chaos. Like that's like, we're going to enter back into the world, be like, oh, let's go. Everybody's unlocked the doors. We can go now. That's the stuff that I'm really scared about. I'm not afraid of my family. I'm afraid of others who haven't really taken any really capacity to kind of understand what's really, really going on. So they just enter back into the workforce. They go back in. And so we've already had the conversation. We're already started changing some of the conversations to a shift. Tell me what you're really going through. What are you really feeling? What are the things that because me personally, the longer that I stay locked up, the worse I'm going to be. That's just me mentally. That's me. It doesn't matter if I have the best coaches in the world. The problem is I don't do well in isolation. And a lot of this, Amber's done a really good job of encouraging me. Hey, get up. Let's go walk around. I wear my Apple Watch. Encourage me to get up and walk around, get outside, get vitamin D, stay in a cycle. So I really appreciated it. I want to post this. I'm not sure if it's going to show up if you are watching, but this is what Kara wrote. I just posted it in here for some reason. It says, I'm finding all the ways that people are finding to do business in new ways right now. Really inspiring. I just was telling Tony about this new FaceTime photography business that I'm seeing pop up. It's fascinating what innovators are creating right now, from chaos energy to creative energy. And the thing that we were talking about was she's seeing photographers use FaceTime to take photos and then edit those and get them up. A couple episodes ago, a restaurant says, well, we can't have guests anymore. What could we do? We shifted it. Now we're a new kind of innovative grocery store. And people are adapting. So, Michelle, I just want to say, I know that you run a business. You've got all the noise going on with your kids running around, but you found time last night to have sushi. You supported a local business. I love the fact that, you're giving back in small ways. And that's what we get to do as individuals. We get to give back right now in small ways to communities. So what's your take on what we're talking about?
I love what Dov said. I mean, I'm a total hugger. I'm definitely like physical touch. I love to just hug people, squeeze them. You know that, Tony. I'm probably to where I make people uncomfortable, but I make them like it eventually. But no, I just, I mean, for the first 2 decades in my business, everything was belly to belly, face to face, knee to knee. I mean, I'm a big relationship building person. I love being able to connect, whether it's business or friends or my kids and their friends. And so it's been tough for me. I'm like the most extroverted introvert you've ever seen, because I definitely like my space and my time and that peace. But I think, like these guys have said, it's figuring out I'm like the ultimate like optimist and spin master when it comes to like, how can we make this great and what good things can come from this? And, we haven't been able to do our Friday night, like sushi dates, my boys and I, for Friday Fun Day. So we had sushi delivered from one of our favorite restaurants. It's a newer restaurant, so I was really worried about them even making it through this. And so I thought, man, if we can even if I can promote it to my network and tell them, oh my gosh, get this sushi delivered to your house. It's so good, and support this business. I was like, and I even told them on social media, I'm like, stay in business, we'll be back as soon as you can come back, and just, picking up food from places that we love, that I want to see around. And a lot of things too is helping a lot of the people that, are not big social media people, or, really aren't used to either doing business online or, having birthdays. I mean, a lot of birthdays are having, people are having birthdays on Zoom and stuff. So I've had a lot of friends reach out to me and they're like, help, I don't know how to do this. And here they're asking the most tech challenged person on the planet, but this is, this is my area, the tech part, maybe not so much, but it's just great being able to help them and to see like people coming together and making the best of it. So, I do think there's going to be a lot of great things, and there already are coming from this. And I love seeing the creativity out there, the new businesses popping up, new ideas. Gives me chills. It's like so cool,
What's something you've learned about yourself during this time that maybe was a blind spot or not something you were paying attention to previous?
I'm not really sure, Tony. I mean, because I'm still doing what I was already doing.
Sure.
Not much of that has changed.
Would you say your time with your boys is even more intentional now? So because school is something, it's a routine, right? Like you get up, you take your kids to school or however they get there, drop them off. Now that's home. Do you just find your time even a little bit more maybe intentional with your boys?
Yeah, I mean, like it has to be. I think, like Darren was saying, we have smaller kids that, run in when you're doing a Zoom, and luckily, I'm a network marketer, and 80% of the industry is women. So for me, it's actually kind of good for them to see my kids come in. Throws me off, but that's all right. I get back into the groove. But I think like I can't think it was Dov that said, like, if I don't schedule it, it doesn't happen. And so I am very I'm very much into block and schedule and chunks of time, no matter what it's for, whether it's my health, whether it's working out, whether it's with my kids, whether it's doing my business, whether it's, coaching and mentoring. Like, I have chunks of time, and I'm very, very intentional with those chunks of time, which I think I've gotten really good at over the years. I was not always good at that. I used to kind of fly by the seat of my pants, and now I'm pretty psychotic about my schedule and my time. And I think one thing I've learned is through this is even just giving ourselves a little bit more grace. And, that's probably the biggest thing.
I love that. That word has popped up on all 4 episodes too. Great.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we'll do something at the very end today. But I love that, and I appreciate that. Darren, I know that you've been finding time. I mean, I think you're always playing an instrument, hanging out with your family in a unique way, but you're sharing a lot more of those on Facebook.
That's awesome.
And I really think that's really been the highlight for me of what I've really love is connecting with people, is seeing what they're doing and then watching them share it. I think there's been so much more. We're in a society that we're very disconnected because we're connected to a digital device that takes away our attention, but now we're creating content. And so I think we're going to see a lot of new content creators in the world come out of this because they feel like, hey, wow, I'm not afraid to do this. Yeah. Like it's okay to put something up and see what happens, but like I'm going for it. So Darren, what have you noticed for you in particular about being home, like in the confinements of your home and your situation? What's something maybe you've taken away from this that you'll take with you forever as you move forward?
Yeah, it's shifted the perspective. I shared the story again of, just asking the opposite question of how you're feeling. Like with my kids, just asking, how can they help with the process, as opposed to, oh my gosh, how do I do this? How do I manage through this? So one of the things I've taken away, Tony, you talked a little bit about music going through. I've always known, so I've been an electric bassist for many, many years. I've been playing for over 20 years now. But I typically just perform at different shows, different venues around here. And that's always been something that I've loved and has, I've always said, oh, it keeps me grounded. Well, you know what? I realized how grounded it keeps me during this cycle. I've been far more intentional I've been in the past several years of making sure that I'm playing and working on new material, new ideas in regularity every single week. And I've been folding my kiddos into that. My little guy, he's 4, and he's been experimenting on the drums, and he loves the song Come Together. Like he heard that and he just loves that. So I've been jamming with him on that, and he's like actually playing in time and with the beat. So the bonding that's come from that has been huge. But I want to talk about why that anchor of music is so important for me, because it's a parallel for, I think, so many of us right now in this sea of uncertainty. What's the one thing we want more than anything? We want certainty. We want these certainty anchors. Humans love uncertainty in like a movie, right? Like not knowing the end of a show or a movie. Like that's about as much uncertainty as we'd like to be able to take in right now. But we're in a season where the end of the week seems great. We're unsure as to even how that's going to look. So finding something that gives me energy, and if you're listening, finding the things that give you energy or have given you energy in the past, now's the time to go back to those things. Because what I've been finding is that creative energy that comes from exploring the bass, guess what? It's the same cognitive portion of my brain that I need for writing content, for showing up strong in interviews. So if I don't do that work on myself, when we've been pivoting our business even and going through shifting to meet different needs of clients or envisioning, where they might be going and what their challenges are, that base, that time on the base is accessing the creative portions of my mind that allow me to see and go there, but be comfortable in an area that I've been trained for decades of my life, which is, playing jazz. Jazz, you don't always have the full script. You have a general outline of where things are going to go, but you have musicians that are dumping in, throwing things in, and you're live building, but you still grow from that. And that's kind of one of the seasons that we're in. So it's been a certainty anchor. And I love the power of that, of going back to ground in that instrument and in other areas of my life, but just on the bass in particular. And being able to share that. I've never really done that. I've never thought to just share that. I just perform out live with my band, but I'm like, I can do things on the bass on my own and share that with the world. If people like it, great. If not, that's okay as well. But I'm just trying to energize people to share other things that you do about yourself. People know me on this side, but other things as well that can.
We talk a lot about it in podcasts. I mean, you project what you want the world to see, and the world actually wants to see your flaws. The world wants to see your humanness, like the side of you that isn't perfect. Because, I've been listening to a masterclass with Sarah Blakely, and she talked about it, dropping her kids off at school and how to walk the mom of shame, because she wasn't prepared. The kids were late for school, and here she is 20 minutes later in her flip-flops, basically in sweats. And she's like taking her kids to school. It's not perfect. And that actually gets more love and attention than some of the beauty glamorous posts, because people go, hey, that's more like me. That's who, maybe the glamorous post is who I'd like to look like or be, but that's the mom that I can relate to, right? Like that's the person. Right. So Dov, you and I chatted last night briefly. And, one of the things that I love about the people we have, they're all willing to get out and try something. So last night I was like, hey, I'll figure out StreamYard with you, right? I've done it, but I don't know how to do this. So let's just go. And so we started streaming to channels and just playing. And you need people to play right now with you. And I walked into my garage last night and I said, I want to play like cornhole. I just want to like toss a baseball. I want to toss a football. And then my brain started going, well, if I toss a football with somebody, are they going to have to wear gloves? Because, am I going to get sick when the ball comes back to me? It's crazy. Like
just where
your brain thinks, right? So Dov, the question to you, and then we're going to rapid fire today because we got a lot of people that for some reason I'm not able to get their comments here. You got to click the StreamYard link to give them permission. Then your question will appear for us here in the room. But I want to give people tactical things that they can do right now to help them stay sane, build a business, and to stay connected as a network. So Dov, last one to you, and then we'll grow from there.
Okay, so first thing I want to say is that everybody is frustrated. So, yes, there are those of us who have disciplined ourselves and learned how to manage our feelings and our emotions and all those things. But listen, if you're going through shit, we're all going through it. It's okay. And you may be looking at me or at Darren or at Tony or at Michelle and going, oh my God, I wish I could have my poo in a pile the way they do. You've just caught us in a moment where our poo's in a pile, and sometimes it's not. And that's okay. So just like Tony was saying earlier, it's really getting the humanity of it. So back to what I talked about earlier and Darren just mentioned, which is certainty versus uncertainty. We love the certainty because it gives us predictability. But if we get too much of it, we get bored and we want uncertainty. But if that shows up, we call it chaos or we call it crisis. So here's the thing. What I wanted everybody to do just as a moment is to say, what is it that gives me certainty? So let me just start with you, okay? Just say to you, okay, who do you love? Who are you absolutely certain you love? Write that down. I am certain that I am loved by this person. Who loves you? Write it down. Who do you love and who loves you? Write it down. Get the certainty. Here's the thing that I've gotten out of this more than anything else, and I've written about it, I've done videos on it, because I think it's really important. We've got every night at 7 o'clock, everybody's banging their pots and pans, and certainly where we are, it's very loud because I live downtown in the city. It's awesome. All these people are supporting the first responders. But here's the thing I want you to know is who is the essential workers we're not recognizing. And this is what this has brought forward to me. we've got a problem with disease right now with this infection. How quickly do you think things would go down the toilet if we didn't have garbage collectors? Nobody's banging the pots for them. You go across the street to your grocery store and you can buy groceries. There are people serving you who are taking risks to do so. There are people stocking the shelves who are taking risks to do so. There are bus drivers who are driving buses and letting people on, transporting you from one place to another. Those people. Truck drivers. Do you know that in 4 days, without truck drivers, 4 days, your grocery stores would be empty. There'd be no gas in any gas station. Within 1 week, we would completely grind to a halt. And within 4 days, you would not be able to drink the water because the chemicals that are put in the water that allow you to drink would not be allowed you to drink. You'd have to boil it all. So one of the things that is really brought home for me is how much there is the people that we minimized and shoved to the side that we don't pay attention to are actually what keep the wheels on this thing we call society. And we're focused on the Kardashians, and we're focused on movie stars, and we're focused on pop stars, and we're focused on the entrepreneur who is standing by their yacht with some person with a push-up bra on, and or by their private jet, and we think that that's what matters. And one of the things I love about this is it's bringing people back to what matters. And everything I do, my whole work around being the dragonist is getting connected to your meaning. That's where your certainty is, because that's your anchor in the storm. Yes, you're going to get knocked about, but your anchor's in place. When you've got that in place, it doesn't matter. It's not great, it's not comfortable, but you know that this is the center. And so by doing that, and you get to decide the meaning rather than letting CNN, CNBC, Fox, or whoever the hell it is give you the meaning, you determine the meaning. And that is what's vitally important. So let's acknowledge the people who are supporting us, who are those people who are unseen, and the people who are supporting us in other ways. Like, you mentioned Kara Parrish and her team are supporting me. They've been amazing for me. Always have been, because we've worked together for like 5 or 6 years. But the way they've come together during this is outstanding. My friends like you, Tony, and you, Darren. I'm sorry, Michelle, I didn't know you before, but all my friends are amazing the way they've all gathered around and reached out. How are you doing? How are you okay? Like, let's get back to gratitude. Let's get back to curiosity, because gratitude and curiosity gives us agility. And in the agility, we can serve more people. We can step up and be better.
No, I love it. And what I want to do is take the next 5 or 6 minutes, talk about what tips and advice you could give. So take 2 minutes each to let the person watching today. And I always say like this, I think like this: imagine the person you're talking to is completely stuck. They're almost like their feet are in quicksand or cement and they don't know how to break free. But then think to the person who is hustling, grinding, because that's what life has taught them, that's how they make success. Talk to that person. And then the last person that I want to have you talk to is your partner. I want you to what are you hearing from your partner or somebody that you're doing life with? Maybe it's your mom or your dad or some brother or sister, just somebody that you're really, really close to, because I think there's a different listening for each one of those cases. So love, Dov, go ahead. You're going to wrap, and then we'll go to Darren and we'll go to Michelle.
Okay. So for the person who's stuck, the first thing I would say to you is, okay, just be okay with being stuck. Be okay with that. Stop and just allow yourself that. Because here's the thing, is if you're feeling stuck, it's because your identity got challenged. This is what's really important. Identity crisis is the thing that is the most challenging thing right now. If you've identified yourself as something and now you can't be that, you are left in a position where you actually have to ask yourself the more important and deeper questions, which is what really matters to me, not what is supposed to matter, but what really matters to me. Once you get that, then you can start to find that dragonfire within yourself that will move you forward. So you ask yourself this: if you're stuck, that's okay. How can I be of service? What can I do right now to serve someone? And sometimes that means just walking down the street and smiling at people and saying hello. That can be enough. When I go to the grocery store across the street, I thank the person serving. And I say, quite literally, thank you for your service. I know they're not in the military, but they are taking their life in their hand to serve me. So that's the stuck person. The person who is hustling, and we're all hustling, and I've written about this extensively lately, saying we live in a culture of hustle. And what this has done is it's made us realize that we were on the brink of burnout. And I talked a lot about that before this happened. On the brink of burnout, and this is a way to come back and say, hold on a second, maybe hustle isn't the way. This is the stop point. Maybe what's really important is to come back to center. What is the meaning? What is the single, unified, monolithic meaning inside of me and why I'm doing what I'm doing that matters more than whether I step up the ladder towards a greater level of externalized success. And to my partner, as the third one, to my beloved queen, what I would say to her is, thank you. Because every day I'm deeply grateful for who she is and how she keeps me grounded and centered. And yes, she gets freaked out. I understand about, the things that she gets freaked out about. But my question over her is this: what do you know? What do you know with absolute certainty? And that's the question I would ask anybody. What do you know with absolute certainty? Who do you love? Who loves you? What do you know is the true gift of your life? If everything else failed, what would you be left with that really matters? Those are my 3 guidelines.
Thank you. And give Ren a big hug, because you can do it and I can't. All right. Will you please do that? All right. Darren?
Yeah, picking up on the brilliance of the dragon fire of what Dov just said. If you're stuck even finding certainty and thinking about relationships and those who love you, one of the exercises I've been going through, I've been helping coach some people through in our network with resilience coaching. And one of the pieces we've had to come through, even when people are stuck at that level, like struggling to see who's around them, right? Maybe they're just challenged by having that much close time with their family, right? And even in those spaces, take a look at where you're seated right now. What's something that you're certain of? Like, what is something that you're certain of? Are you certain that the chair that you're seated in, if you're sitting, that it's going to be working for you by the time this broadcast is over? Are you certain that when you put your foot on the ground, that the ground is not going to give way? These sound really rudimentary. These sound so minuscule and so little. Looking out the window, the sun's going to rise again, or it's going to set. The whole point, though, is in this sea of uncertainty, our certainty spotting muscles can atrophy if we're not careful with what we're consuming. If you're not going to ask those questions of yourself, who's going to ask them for you? So if that's something that we need to pause, picking up again on what Dov said there, pause to see, it's important. And if you're not stuck, if you're in that hustle zone, I still encourage you to pause, because just because we're doing a lot of things doesn't mean we're getting a lot of things done in terms of what actually matters. We've lived in a state where we've gotten accustomed to checking the boxes. I, my friends, am no different. I have lived in that state, and I've worked just tirelessly to try and break my mind from just getting caught in the trap of checking the boxes. We get a script, and that's exactly what we've been conditioned to do. So in times like this, we just go back to what we know, which is checking the boxes. Where do those boxes actually lead? So that leads to a really powerful question for anybody to ask of themselves right now, that takes you to the root of some of what Dov was talking about just now and finding that deeper purpose. If you could imagine for a moment that money was not an issue, that you didn't have to worry about that, give yourself a chance to pause. I know it's a stress right now, but for some people that we're not sure where money's coming from and different things. But if it wasn't an issue, if it wasn't something that you had to think about, if we lived in a world where that didn't even matter, what would you be doing with your life right now? When you stripped away everything, what would be the things that you would do with your life? What would be the impact that you would have? What would be the story that would be told at the end of your life about you, the impact that you had and the dent that you made for humanity? Because right now, humanity needs you. What is that? Did you put a smile on somebody's face? Did you get somebody to think of questions and live to be a better version of themselves? Maybe you were the one that showed up at the grocery store every day in the midst of a crisis so others could have food. Because just like Dov, I've been going through that process, getting in line at Costco, thanking every single person that's there, wiping the carts, going through, and just saying thank you so much for their service. Absolutely. They're not in the military, but they're in a war right now. Without them, we got nothing as a society. It takes me back to those basics. Final question on my partner. My wife is incredible. She has been an amazing real estate agent for many, many years. The market right now in California, she's got a couple of things going, but it's in a little bit of a holding pattern right now. As I've worked deeply on 34 Strong and on my business and keeping things rolling and continuing to keep that going forward, she's had to adapt into a role where she's been carrying more of the weight on the homeschooling pieces, just so I could stay primarily focused on a lot of the energy and the direction that we've got going here. It's been a role shift. It's been a role shift for both of us because we both do a lot with the kids and have done that. So I've just been incredibly grateful for her to have made that shift and allowing me to do this. And it's actually brought us closer together. But it really plays a light, like making the importance of the time together and even these little boxes of time that we can get, because we're all together all the time now. So I'm just super thankful for her and the challenge of the shift that's even been in our relationship with how it's gone through, but it's going incredibly well, but it takes work.
No, I appreciate you sharing. I think it's pretty powerful when both of you kind of shared of uncertainty and certainty, and leadership is also something really, really big right now. We need people to step up. And I know the next person who's going to speak has worked personally with Bob Proctor for many, many years. And one of the quotes that always sticks, I talk about it all the time, now's the time to stop being an extra in your own life. It's time for you to lead. If anybody you're going to lead, make sure it's yourself first, because you take that next step, then leadership becomes something that you do on a daily basis with your family and people around you. And so, Michelle, I thought we'd put this one in your hands, and you can share a little bit about Bob Proctor too, because I know that everything is energy and it's all contagious, and we feel the vibrations in everything we do. So I just loved your insight around this.
Yeah, it's funny, Tony, because of course that's exactly where I was going to go. I love what Dov said and Darren, and just to kind of piggyback off what they're saying, I think, it's so funny. I was just thinking when I was getting ready, I was going to post us on my Facebook page as a little reminder to our teams and stuff that I always say, leader of one, leader of many. If you can't lead one, you can't lead any. And so it's so important for us to rise above, whether it's the person who's stuck, whether it's the person who's hustling and things are going great. And even with our relationships, whether it's our partners or spouses or whatever, I think it's a time to make a choice to rise above. And I think with that, sometimes we need that checkup from the neck up. It doesn't matter whether you're stuck or you're, in the zone. We still always need that checkup from the neck up, And, I always say, Tony, as you know, our thoughts are things, and whatever we think is. And yeah, sometimes it's tough. And, sometimes it's tough to turn those negative thoughts into positive ones. Sometimes it's tough to turn negative situations into positive ones. But it is a choice. And the only thing that we have 100% control over is our thoughts and our feelings. And so I know it's a tough time right now. And I know that there are some people who are stuck and almost paralyzed right now. And to that person, I would say, take a step back. Feeling is healing. Okay. It's okay to feel that way. But also your success in life and in your relationships and in your business is going to be determined by how quickly you are aware of where you are and where you want to be. And so, okay, like this is how I'm feeling, great, but how do I want to feel? Okay. And what is it going to take for me to get from here to here? And I think that's the biggest thing right now is going, okay, what am I feeling? And guys, your thoughts lead to your feelings, which lead to your actions, which lead to your results. So if you're putting positive in, you're going to get positive out. If you're putting negative in, you're going to get negative out. So it's not rocket science. And it's easy to do, easy not to do. Right. So, that's where that awareness comes in, is like, okay, what am I thinking? What are my thoughts? Are they serving me? Are they empowering me, or are they disempowering me? Are these feelings that I'm having right now, are they empowering me, or are they disempowering me? because those inner feelings are what is going to create our results in life, whether it's, whether we're stuck, whether we're hustling, or whether it's with our relationships and partners. And so that's a big thing right now. And for me, like, one of the biggest suggestions I could give is get into action, get into some kind of positive action, because inactivity breeds doubt. And the more action you can take, the more positive action you can take in whatever area of your life that you are focused on making better. And whatever you focus on grows, right? So, whatever we give attention to, where attention goes, energy flows. So we need to make sure that the aspects of our life that we want to increase and make better, that we're taking those little baby steps and doing those little things every day consistently, whether we feel like it or not. And that's kind of the magic, is really doing the things that you may not feel like doing to move your life forward. So that's my biggest suggestion, for the person who's stuck, is, and you gotta lose the victim card. We all have one. It's time to cut up the victim card. I call it APR, absolute personal responsibility. You've got to take absolute personal responsibility for where you are or aren't. And, ask for help. There are so many amazing people all around us. And I think it was Darren that talked about your environment. I mean, we are a product of our environment. I feel so blessed to be surrounded with such amazing people that if I am struggling, I can say, hey, I need help, and it's not a sign of weakness. It's actually a sign of strength. And it's something that I was never really good at, still not great at it, getting a little bit better at it. But ask for help, and as far as a partner, I'm a single mom, so my partner happens to, in life at this point in time, happens to be my sister, who's my assistant, my nanny, the CEO of my life, wife, husband, therapist. So to her, I give thanks, because she's doing the second grade homeschooling right now, so that I can do stuff like this, and so that I can make a bigger impact and keep things moving around our house. So that's my biggest thing, Tony, is absolute personal responsibility. Focusing, really being aware of what your thoughts and feelings are, because they truly are creating your results in your life right now.
Perfect. All right. This is the fun part. This is where you guys can take some notes really quick, because you're gonna draw 3 from these. And if you feel like you want to ad lib one, please do that. So some of the things we talked about today kicked us off with forced pause. We have a forced pause. Definitely grace, going through it. Like, what does that really mean? Love, definitely love, certainty and uncertainty, and leadership. So those are kind of some of the big kind of like aha takeaways that I was hearing today. Kind of be, the dragoness is always something, Darren. We're always going to talk about the dragoness, so that's a good thing. But I did want to read you from my journal today. At the bottom of the page, it says, life shrinks or expands in proportion to one's courage. So I thought that was like a kind of a topical thing for us today, as we're talking about courage and strength and the agility to kind of move through things. I'll give you a funny story as we jump into the next portion of this. So yesterday, I was sitting at my desk and I was talking to Courtney, who works with Doug and myself at ShipOffers, and we were just talking, and I said, I needed a smile and a laugh, so I brought up an old movie that sometimes I think about, which is Breakin'. It was from 1984. It was a hip hop dance movie. It takes place like in Venice Beach, and I mean, you look at them, they're dressed up in leotards, they're hip hop dancers or whatnot. And I go and get coffee this morning for my neighbor who's coming over to help me social distantly hang something that Amber made. And on the radio on the 80s channel is a song from Breakin'. Now, I got to tell you, I haven't heard it in 10 to 15 years, but the way the universe works and God, I just sit there and go, thank you very much for showing me a little smile, a little humor today, because amongst everything, I have to remind myself, I need to find the joy in what I do, or I'll lose my purpose along the way. So thank you with that. All right, Dov, we're going to kick it off to you. You can pick from the list of 6 or add on something that you feel is on your heart.
Well, we talked about I talked about pause. I think you've got to feel what you're feeling. I think you've got to remember who you love, what you love. And I think that now is a time where we don't need less leadership. We need better, more human-centric dragon leaders. What does that mean? It means we have to understand. So you may be watching this right now and go, well, I'm not really a leader. I'm a solopreneur. Yes, you're a leader. Do you have a family? Yes, you're a leader. Do you have friends? Yes, you're a leader. Do you have people who work with you? Yes, you're a leader. Anything you can think of, because here's what leadership is. Leadership is impact and influence. That's what it is. It's impact and influence, and you are having impact and influence on others. This does not mean you deny who you are or what you're going through. It's not about denial, but it is about understanding that you are having impact, and maybe on your children right now more than ever before in your life, because you can't escape them. And sometimes I understand. Sometimes you might want to throw your kids out of the window. I get all that. That's all okay. It's actually okay to own any of that. And my best advice to you right now is own what's going on for you. Your journal is your friend. And what I mean by that is, please go there and vomit. Let it all out so that you don't put it out on everybody else. But go, I want to kill my children. I want to set my wife, my husband, my partner on fire. Write it out. It's okay. It's completely okay. It's actually healthy. It's really important, because if you get the venom out onto the paper, it doesn't spill out onto other people. So that's the number one thing. Let yourself feel whatever it is you're feeling. If you're feeling the anxiety, own the anxiety. If you're feeling the tension, own the tension. Get clear on this, because here's the thing I want you to, just before we go anywhere else, the single monolithic difference between being anxious and being in gratitude, between being mediocre and being great, is having a single unified meaning. Determine the meaning of your life. Don't let the circumstances, the situations, or the crazies on TV tell you the meaning of this. Yes, we've been pushed into a pause, but we've also been pushed into innovation. We've been pushed into agility, and we've been pushed into, more than anything, coming back and saying what really matters here. And people keep talking about getting back to normal, and I want to scream at them. Normal's done. And there are people, you just mentioned them, going to the beaches in Georgia and Florida because they want to get back to normal. And I get it. I understand it. But if we go back to normal, guess what? As you know, Tony, I interviewed somebody recently who's an advisor for the World Health Organization. I did a 4-part interview with him on my show, Curiosity Bites. And he said, we're going to get a second wave in September. October, we're going to get a second wave, because the size of that wave will completely depend on how well we do with isolation. So these people are putting everybody else's life in danger. We have to suck it up and be okay with sucking it up. I don't like it either. But we got to decide that we are more about our society, not just our family, not just our business, but all of us globally. And we've gone away from global thinking into more tribal thinking, and we need to expand out of that and realize that you are connected to everybody else. This is a law of quantum physics, which Tony and Darren know is a big subject of mine. But the law of quantum physics, laws of resonance, show that nothing is ever separate. So you think you're isolated and separate, you're not. You are connected to everybody else. So with that intention, focus in on, how can I serve? What can I do to serve today? Because I know for me, when I feel anxious and tense and things are going a bit shitty and I don't feel so great, by focusing on how I can serve, it transforms that. And that's what I would just want to challenge you to do.
I love that. I get lost in service. That's what I love too. When you're helping and serving and doing something for others, you kind of shift from your head into your heart, and you realize you're operating from a different space. So I love that. Thank you very much. All right, Darren. I'm looking forward to your insight. You can't reference Dov, myself, or Michelle. It has to be all original. from here on out. You can't quote anything. It's got to be your own content.
What happens if I break that rule and jump off of it?
I love you.
Love you too, man. I have to piggyback on one thing that Dov said to jump into something else, and that was that was this notion of just where we're focusing and how we're showing up. I'm looking at my wall because I have a series in here of just I am statements that I make. And Dov talked about the power of serving others, asking ourselves, who can I serve today, right? A simple way to go deeper into that, if you're struggling with thinking about who that is, anytime you're talking to anybody or interacting with anybody in your life today, tomorrow, ask the question, how can I help you? What do you need help with right now? What's something you need help with right now? And here's the thing, you might not have the answer. That's the whole point. You might not have the answer. But the fact that you gave somebody permission to share where they need help, you might have allowed something to clear for them. Because sometimes, as Dov mentioned, just putting that venom onto paper can be helpful. But if somebody can actually connect with you on a human level, sometimes just articulating, gosh, I need help. I need help on this. That could have been an opening for them to create a little bit of relief. I'm going to focus for my section, though, on the forced pause. And I want to take this beyond just what we're experiencing as humans. I want to take us to look beyond this at nature. I want us to look into the lens of what nature can teach us about the forced pause. When we actually stop what we're doing, we can see the brilliance of what nature has to offer. Every morning I get outside early in the morning. I'm outside well before sunrise, and I soak in the silence. I bathe in the silence. I take in the deafening sound of silence, and how magnificent it is just looking up at the stars, taking a look at what's right around you, and how powerful that is. What does that do? That's an energy source for us. The science is all there. Without the world at large, without the sun charging us, without the water, without the currents flowing, what happens? Our food doesn't grow. Animals don't live. All these different things. It's a chance for us to get out of our box lives of just being at a computer all day and actually step outside, hear the birds chirp, hear those sorts of things. That charges us. That charges us electrically. It charges us in different ways that we just don't get when we're staring at a camera all the time. Or maybe even having that phone conversation outside, soaking it in is huge. Here's the thing. Years ago, I discovered, because of an experience within nature, I discovered the power of what it could be and how it could be a powerful collaborator for us. I was on the path, guys. I was living a life of pursuing excellent mediocrity. I was pursuing living a life of excellent mediocrity, thinking I'm doing all the things right. You know why? Because I was on the box checking mindset. Just check all these boxes and you get to where you go. And then you get to that next step. And then what do? Well, that wasn't all it was cracked up to be. So what do? We set our next mountain to climb. And we actually never look at the path of where we've come from, or even pause long enough to look out ahead. When you have a forced pause, you have the opportunity to see what it could lead to. When you look around at nature, you could see what it leads to. You know why? Because you could look at that tree that's right in your yard. You could look at that oak tree that's sitting out there, or that giant sequoia. I love them. They're out here in California.
We don't have them here.
What's that? Yeah, you don't have them there, right? But they're beautiful. A giant sequoia, the seed of a giant sequoia is about the size of a grain of oat. Now, these trees grow to be 3,000 to 3,500 years old. That is magnificent. That is powerful. It's patient. It pauses. It has to deal with fires. It has to deal with droughts. It has to deal with all these things. We're built no differently from that. We're from that same universe, and it can be a critical reminder for us to the power of pause and accepting the storms that come to us and having to work our way through it. So take a look around you, and that could be one of the things that opens us up for that forced pause. Because I don't think anybody really wakes up every day saying, I'd like to be as mediocre or below average as possible, right? If we could pick excellence instead.
I got to give you the award for the best camera connection today, the best lighting today, And you got to keep what you got growing on your face. It looks dynamic on you. It is a good look, my friend. So I'm giving you the three ups awards today.
Thank you. The lights are all here, mic, camera.
So
and
give your kids some kudos for getting you dialed in today. You look like $1 billion. So
thank you so
Dov,
much.
don't you agree? Doesn't he look good?
It does. It looks.
Michelle, don't you give him some kudos?
No, we also got the blue shirt connection here. I know we planned that last night, right?
Well, they see by the setup here that they got the memo about all black, and we got the memo
about all blue.
Yes.
Perfect. I was going to say
the blue and beard. That's why Michelle couldn't join our side.
That's right.
Right? So,
That's what we're saying. It's
I
perfect.
love it. All right. Last but not least, Michelle.
All right. Well, of course, you're not allowing me to piggyback off these two, and they were so amazing. And what they said is just like so perfect for all of this. And I think that I think I'm going to talk a little bit more about when you were saying about just courage and strength, right? I was listening to another podcast or something the other day when I was getting ready, and it was a Mexican proverb. I haven't even had time to look it up, but it was basically something like they thought they were burying us, but they had no idea we were the seed. And I'm paraphrasing. They thought they were burying us, but they had no idea we were the seed. And I think that right now we all have to step up our courage and leadership and be the seed. Because we are good or bad. So whether, we're planting good or bad, that's what's going to grow. And so I think really, I was thinking before Darren even talked about it, but, the law of increase. Okay. So right now, whether it's, this is about networking, and obviously we're doing a lot of it, remote and online, but, are you leaving every single person that you come into contact with? Are you leaving them in a better space? Are you leaving them better than when you met them? And if you're leaving them better off than when you met them, and that is your intention with every interaction, whether it's online or offline, I think that is what we need right now. And the last thing I was thinking of is to get through this with courage and strength. I've heard all of these guys talk about their schedules, and I think every one of us at one point has talked about, like, if you don't schedule, it's not going to happen. I truly am a big believer how you start your day is how your day goes. And just hearing Darren talk about what he does before the sun even rises. I know, Tony, you're an early riser. So just taking, even if it's getting up 1 hour earlier, to have that silence, do those affirmations, do the visualization, visualize what you want your life to look like. Figure out what is it that you really want? Like, what do you really, really want, and then figuring out what you need to do to close that gap to get there. And exercising, guys. I mean, motion creates emotion. And I'm seeing all these people talking about the quarantine 15 and, the COVID-19 pounds and it's like, I think it's so important right now for us to really, get moving, whatever that means as far as exercise. We've gone on so many long walks and bike rides with my boys, and it just makes a difference. It really does. I have a whole gym set up in my bedroom right now. It's a little ridiculous, but we've had fun putting these things together, so just really embracing those small pauses, those small moments that make you feel good. Even putting together a desk and a chair for 5.5 hours with my 11-year-old, I had a glass of wine, we had music playing, and we had so many laughs because, of course, I kept putting the shit together wrong, and I'd have to take it apart and put it back together again. And like 5.5 hours later, he finally had a desk in his room. But, just making the best of the things that are happening right now. And, and really just working on yourself, really doing that personal development and getting that checkup for the neck up so that you can be the change. So that's it.
I love it. And I just want to say thank you to the three of you for coming on. Thoughts are things. And it was so crazy that I keep hearing that, right? That shows up a lot for me in my life. And you can think, man, this is the worst thing ever. You can think, well, this is what I'm dealing with. And what can I do to make it the best thing that I'm dealing with right now? Because we're all going through it, and we're all going through it completely different. Our friends in Italy were talking about it a month ago when we were going to go see them. And they're like, please pivot and go somewhere else. And, they're still in it. There's streets. I've never seen the streets in Rome with nobody around. And my friend Marco was driving. He posted on Sunday, he posted of him just driving through all the famous places and like, there's nobody there. So everybody's dealing with it completely different. He's an entrepreneur, it's his business, and he's not picking up anybody to drive him around. So I'm thinking and praying and sharing love. And, Dov, you're in Vancouver, and your life is a little different because you have a little differently run country than we have here in the US. I'm not getting into politics, but the matter of the fact is that we are still all trying to manage chaos. There is managed chaos going on or unmanaged chaos. And I just really want to reflect for the next couple seconds just to say thank you to each and every one of you. Networking remote was something I thought of, like, how do you do this? This is what my life is, going to events. My life is spending time with my people that I love most, but that's human connection. And how can we make the best of it? How can we help individuals who maybe are feeling like, hey, you know what? I just lost $500,000 in my business. I don't know how I'm going to recover, or I don't know if I'm going to reopen. I just saw a post last night that a restaurant in Santa Cruz on the wharf that I used to go to and went to after all of these years just closing. They're not coming back. Right. And a lot of staples that we once knew are gone. And so what can we do? And I thought, hey, let's put some really amazing people together who have just chemistry because they have energy, and that energy is contagious. And then other people are going to feed off of it. So I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for giving me an hour, giving the world an hour of your love. That is service work to myself and to others. So thank you very much for your service. I love the reflection today of taking care of people, like wiping down the carts when you go into the grocery store, saying thank you to the people who are even delivering essentials to your home. I think what we need to do is keep praying and showing grace and love today, tomorrow, and way after we get released from our house and we get back to life. I think this has been a moment for me over the last 5 weeks to not take things for granted that I used to take for granted, and to be in the moment to really say, you know what matters is connection. And Networking Remote was all about bringing connection to the people, bringing something that they can take with them today. We officially got launched on iTunes the other day. So it's a podcast now, so you can take us with you. I have no clue. Someone asked me the other day, how long are you going to do this? I said, as long as there's people to talk, I'm going to find a way to push messages out to the world. So we have another episode coming up in just 2 days. And that's what I'm going to wrap with today. My dear friend, Peter Lynch, is going to be on there. I've been fortunate enough to build a really, really good relationship with Peter. And Peter left kind of corporate America, went personally to kind of do his own deal, and then saw an opportunity to go be a part of the Cardinal Group. And now he's, smack dab in corporate America, dealing with just tons of business chaos and strength that he has found. Is why I love him, is because people are finding that adversity is showing their true character, and it's bringing a lot of new things to the table. So I'm excited about that. I've got a buddy of mine, Eric Van Horn, who is a franchise investor, an advisor, and a connector. He's the CEO of ilovefranchising.com. So they're seeing the market and the shift and everything. And then Chandler Bolt, the CEO and founder of Self-Publishing School, he's going to be coming on the show on Thursday. So if you've ever thought maybe in quarantine you had an idea for a book or a story and you wanted to publish it, he's got a school and a program to help you do that. So just 3 new people are stepping up to say, hey, look, I want to share, I want to help. So thank you to you 3, first and foremost, for being here today. And I really, really, it means a lot to me that you gave some of your time today to go help the world. That's what I call an impact giver right there. So thank you very much for that. So on behalf of Dov Baron, Darren Virassammy, and Michelle Barnes, my name is Tony Grebmeier. No matter where you go, no matter what you do, choose to make today the absolute best day of your life. All right, I think we're done. And because I'm not good with technology, I'm going to hit the end broadcast. And that doesn't mean I'm slamming the door on you, but I want to tell you 3, I love you. Goodbye. And we'll chat soon. Peace.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Thank you all.
Thanks for listening to the Networking Remote. Remember, you are not alone. Stay connected